All right, everybody, welcome back. Mr. Balker here again. We're going to go ahead and go through today's lesson. Today is Amplify lesson 8A, subunit 2, lesson 1. When you get there, it'll look like this. What is this lesson? We're talking about focus, focusing in on a specific thing. To many of you, this will feel really obvious, really second nature, but it's not. In writing, it can actually be the difference between telling a very clear story or muddying the waters a little bit. Focus is an important skill to develop, and that's what we're working on. In addition, there's a couple of things that we're going to do today, which is to show you guys more features within Amplify. The first feature we're going to show you is vocabulary. Vocabulary is super important. Vocabulary is an activity that I expect you guys to do every single day. It should take you about 8 minutes or so every single day to go through as many of them as you can. I understand that some of you aren't going to be great at this, and some of you are going to breeze right through it. The fact of the matter is, vocabulary is important. We have so many words that we can be very specific in our language about just about anything. And I want to ask you this. Have you ever been in a conversation, or read something, or seen something on TV, and they said a word that you didn't know? It's inconvenient, right? It makes you feel a little bit foolish sometimes. And so by doing these vocabulary activities, you're going to know more words, and that's going to be less of an issue. In addition, when you've got a situation in your life where you want to express a really specific feeling, we've got the words to do it. You may not know them yet, but you will. And that's the whole beauty of English, is that we have got a word for everything, right? You guys know all kinds of slang words for things. There's other words too. And just like learning those, this is convenient for you to get a very clear point across, okay? So the way that you get in there is all you need to do is click on vocabulary, and then this opens up, and then you need to click the open vocabulary app button, and this guy opens up, and you just go through the activities. It's not complicated. The games are kind of fun. When you come back to live school, we'll do this right here in class. You walk in, you open your Chromebook, you sit down at your desk, and you start doing vocab while I do all my beginning of class things. It's just something that you're going to have to do. So get used to it. It's good for you, I promise. And yes, it's for a grade. I'm going to close this down. I'm going to show you the next feature that we've got to figure out, and that is the Amplify library. Amplify has a built-in library that's really actually quite big. There's a whole bunch of books in there that, for those of you that love to read, you've got access to them. For those of you that just want to get this class done with and do the things that I'm asking you to do, all the books that we're going to do are in there as well. So having access to it and familiarity with it is going to be important to you. Obviously, our library here at school is not all that accessible right now, and some of the public libraries are a little sketchy. So having this available to you is going to be something helpful. So how do we get to it? All right, I will show you. You click on the stack up here at the top, and then right down here, you click on Library. And when you do that, the library app opens, and it looks like this. And what it is it's got access to all of our materials, as well as some other stuff that you might want to look at, okay? It's a really handy tool. If you want to just do some reading in your spare time, cool, it's in there. In addition, you kind of need to know how to use it. In the search box up here, if you want to find a specific type of book, put it in the search, okay? They've got some questions for you in the slides here of, if you wanted to find something that would be scary, where would you look? Well, in the search bar of the library, if you typed in horror or even scary, it's probably going to show you those, right? Does that make sense? So learn how to navigate the library and how to find stuff. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and this actually has some stuff that's very relevant to that. So I encourage you, go through it, become familiar with it, okay? That's that. All right, so that's a library. Learn how to use that, learn how to search for specific things. Just kind of mess with it a little bit, guys. It's not rocket science. I mean, all you do is type in the search of the thing that you're trying to find, and it'll go ahead and give you results on there that are rather convenient to you. Let's go ahead and move on with the lesson, okay? So, library navigation, covered it. You're going to see in slide 2 that it wants you to answer some very specific questions. We're going to go through those real fast. I want you to use the library to answer these questions. Number 1, you want to organize a civil protest. What would you type in the search box? I don't know, but figure it out. It's really not that complicated. And just tell me a book that comes up. Same thing with want to feel scared, climate change, where you want to read a poem. Same idea on all of them. All you need to do is type in your search terms and then go ahead and select a book that you think would help in that particular search. Okay? All right, so once you're done with those and handed them in, let's go ahead and go on to the next activity. Again, your hand in button is just right down here in the bottom corner. Let's go up to work visually, the big picture. Here is a very, very busy picture. I'm going to go ahead and display this by itself so that you guys can see it. This picture has got a lot of things going on in it, okay? If you look at it closely, you can see people fighting, people playing, people wrestling around. There's a man down on the beam that looks like maybe he's getting cut in half. There is a lot going on in this scene. And so sometimes when somebody asks you, hey, what's going on there? It's actually hard to answer that question because there's too much going on, right? Whenever you've got a really chaotic scene, it's difficult to describe it, okay? If there's a, what's on TV right now, right? There's a lot of these riots and protests and stuff. What's going on there? Lots of things are going on there. And so we've got to be able to break it down and find specific things. If I were to ask you to describe this picture and say, what's going on? You're going to have a hard time giving me a clear answer. So that's what we've got to do is focus on something. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of little tiny bits of this picture, and we're going to see what's going on in those particular bits, okay? All right. In this particular small portion of it, we can see that there's two people riding on the backs of two people that appear to be leaned over holding the back belts of two other people. And they appear to be struggling over a rope between them. Why? That's a good question. But you see what I mean about how specific we've gotten here? When you look at what's going on there, you could give them names. You could say that Marshall is tugging on the rope, trying to pull it away from Billy. And Billy is sitting on top of Franklin's back and trying to pull himself away because he doesn't want to give that belt away. We don't know. But the point is that we're trying to focus. We're trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And that's what writing requires you to do. You've got to focus in on something specific because you can't talk about all over the place, right? Some of you have probably known somebody who told a story and you were like, what in the world is going on? I love the way my wife tells stories, but sometimes she will start off with the craziest details. And I will sit there, staring at her, okay. So you had on a blue hoodie, okay? And I'm listening. And 15 minutes later, when the story's over, her blue hoodie never mattered. And I'll ask her, Chelsea, what in the world? Why did you know I have a blue hoodie? She's like, well, I had a blue hoodie. I'm like, right, but did it matter? No, that's just how she tells a story. Focus sometimes will allow you to make clear exactly what it is you want somebody to focus in on, right? If you're telling somebody about the blue hoodie and it doesn't matter, don't tell them. In effect, what you're doing is by not having extraneous stuff outside, the person's more easily able to know what it is that was important. And that's what writers need to do very, very well. Because writing can get really boring and really distracting if you don't have clear focus. And the back. And on this section right here, you can see, by focusing on this, we have more of an idea what's going on in this particular scene, right? There's still lots of stuff going on in the background, but we're trying to focus in on something specific. So that's one of them. Here's another one down here. Here is a boy that appears to be climbing, or maybe it's an old man. I don't know, kind of hard to tell because it's a painting. But you can zoom in on it, you can draw your own conclusions. Where's this guy going? What's he climbing up? Why is he climbing up it? These are questions that we obviously want to answer, but this is painting. Painting is open for interpretation, very, very often. Writing should be less open to interpretation. Our goal as writers is to be clear, to make our point, to make them know this is what I meant. And so when we write, we want to focus in on something clearly. So describe this. This happens to be the writing assignment. So I want you to look at this bit very closely and talk about what was going on in that exact moment, okay? Then we've got a third one here. And on this one here, you've got two people. This man's got his mouth open. Maybe he's yelling. Maybe he's frustrated. Maybe he's upset. Don't know. But there's definitely something going on here. And again, these are all in that image. And so by having all that stuff going on, what's going on in the image? I don't know. Lots of things. How much time you got? That's why we want to use focus. Let's go ahead and go to the next activity. Here is their definition of focus, right? The writers of the curriculum say focus is to write exclusively about one moment or idea in order to develop it. In the context of our class, this is what they mean when they want you to focus, right? When they grade the assignments, they want to make sure that you have the ability to stay centered in on this one thing, that you're not all over the place. You're not talking about the blue hoodie. It doesn't matter, right? That is an important skill, and that's one of the ones that we're going to work on this class a lot. That's why it's this early in the whole thing. So, here's the one from earlier that we had the man who appears to be kind of climbing up. Write a couple of sentences to add detail. They put the information here that says, Greg scrambled up the basement door and began to lose his balance. Add to that. They want you to write a couple more sentences and to expand on what happened with Greg. He tried to climb up and he started to lose his balance. So then what? We can say whatever we want, okay? We can say that he was nervous. We can say that he was excited. We can say that he was afraid of getting caught. I don't know. It's really whatever you want to have happened to Greg, okay? Okay, once you finish writing a little bit more about Greg and his fall, perhaps, we're gonna go ahead and go to the next thing. So go ahead and hit hand in, hit next activity, and it's gonna bring you to right here. The writing rules. The writing rules are kind of funny because we're not here live, so these rules are hard to follow. First of all, use the whole time to write. Look, I do not want you guys spending 3 hours a day trying to do my class. It shouldn't take you that long. If you were here in person, when I would do writing assignments, I would usually give you between 10, maybe 18 minutes at the most. We didn't do this for the entire period. The point is, you should be able to convey your thoughts pretty quickly, okay? So the first rule is use the whole time to write. Again, I do not want you to spend 2 hours writing. Spend 10 minutes, spend 15 minutes, whatever. Second thing, ask for help once. Then get back to work. Look, if you're having a problem with your writing, don't worry about that, guys. That's what I'm here for. I want to answer your questions. But don't get hung up on it. When you get stuck on something, ask for my help. Ask for somebody else's help that's around you. And if they can't get it through to you, if they can't help you sort it out, put it out of your mind, that bit. Whatever it is that you're hung up on, work around it. Because I've known lots of times people will just sit there and stare at a blank screen and just get overwhelmed and get tunnel vision. Just write something. Sometimes you can literally write. Just type whatever. Type. It doesn't matter. It's just to get your brain off of that logjam and back to moving forward and doing something productive, because you don't want to waste the entire period of time you've got writing, and you sure as heck don't want to make this thing take 3 hours. It shouldn't. Okay, my class should take you about an hour a day. That's it. By the way, the bells are still going, as you can see. Third thing, keep focusing on your own classwork. Don't distract your classmates. Well, good luck with that. I mean, you don't have any classmates to distract unless you guys are all hanging out together, which, weird. Number 4, no talking, trips for water, or surfing. Okay, obviously, I cannot enforce what you're doing. I mean, I am far, far away. I'm in no danger of, checking in on you to make sure you're doing your work. That is up to you. As I said in my introduction video, you guys have got a tremendous amount of responsibility this year. So start practicing that skill. Start practicing okay, I can do this on my own. I can remain focused. I can get my work done. If you, every time you see something shiny on the screen, spend 15 minutes to look at that and mess with that and talk to this person or that person, you're not going to get any work done. You're going to be wasting a lot more time. Focus on what it is you need to get done, and you'll be a lot more successful, and it'll be a lot faster. Piece of advice. So those are the rules. Go ahead, next activity. Okay, here's the warm-up for the activity that we're going to do next. Okay, now you know the rules for writing. Today is going to be your first legitimate writing exercise. We're going to have lots of these over time, but this is the very first one. And it's pretty easy. Now, I say that, but obviously I've been doing this for a while. I'm probably a pretty decent writer. I can crank out a page every 15 minutes, but I'm a nerd. I'm old. You're not. So, let's talk about what it is we need to do. When you have these warm-ups, the goal is for you to kind of get your mind thinking. So I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to talk to you. If it were in class, what we would be doing is I'd be calling on you guys and saying, hey, what do you think? What do you think over there? Tell me something that you've experienced, right? Because we learn from each other a ton, okay? So today, you can hear my story. And you're probably going to hear most of my stories all the time because it's a video. If you're talking back to the video, you're crazy. Back to that. Today's writing assignment is to write about a time you were doing something you really enjoyed, okay? It's been, for me, a fantastic summer. I understand the state of the world is complicated. There's a lot of things that haven't gone well for everybody. But for me, personally, man, it's been great. As you guys already know, I got a little girl, okay? She is currently 1.5 years old. Her name is Paxton. You're probably gonna hear about her all the time. That's it. This summer, I was lucky enough to be able to hang out with this little kid a bunch. And I have a swimming pool at my house. And Paxton, at 1.5 years, pretty decent swimmer actually. We got a little floaty life jacket thingy on her, and she'll jump in and walk around and grab things and swim one way and swim the other way. And I love it. So for me, thinking about a time that I was doing something that I really enjoyed, just me and her, we're just hanging out, we're in the pool, and unlike a lot of people, I don't really, I try to let her do stuff on her own a lot more than some parents maybe would. So I'm probably 30 feet off, and she's in the shallow end of the pool, and I'm just watching her, and she's swimming. And she knows that I'm there, and so she's comfortable, she's happy, and she'll get up out of the pool, climb up on the stairs, go off to this, like, we got this little cabinet right next to the pool, and there's everything in it, right? There's diving rings, and there's masks, and there's fins, and I mean, all kinds of random toys. And I see her going in there and fishing around in it. And again, she's a year and a half, so not all that old. But I noticed that she was going and picking specific things, and I started to think to myself, I wonder what all she can grab out of there. And so I asked her, I said, hey Pax, bring Dad one of the rings. And she digs around in the box, she grabs a little diving ring, and she runs over and chucks it at me. Now, she's not a very good thrower yet, she's just 1.5 years, but it goes in the pool, and I start laughing, right? And so I say, all right, can you go get me goggles? And she says, goggles? Goggles? And I'm like, I think she knows that. So she runs over there, opens the box, grabs out the goggles, runs back to the pool, throws them at me. I am rolling at this point, right? I'm thinking to myself, I cannot believe that she knows these things. And so I start throwing out everything in the world. And I got her, she brought out the net to skim the pool. She brought out my fins. She brought out, as I said already, the goggles, the ball. She brought the rackets. And this was the best part. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. Is I said, Pax, do you see a racket? And she runs over and she grabs one of the badminton rackets, right? Because badminton's kind of fun to play in the pool. We got a big shallow end. She brings me a racket. I was like, is there 2 rackets? She looks at the one in her hand. She goes back to the bucket. She finds another racket. She comes over with 2 rackets. I'm like, are there 3 rackets? She runs back over, and knowing what I'm going to do next, she grabbed all 4 rackets. So she's got 2 rackets in each hand, right? She's a tiny little kid. She's got 2 rackets in each hand. And she runs over with all of them with this crazy smile on her face. And I'm just sitting there I'm proud of, obviously, but just wildly entertained because Most of the time it's me, arguing with her to do something and stop screaming at me and eat peaches, whatever else. But this was one of those moments that I was just like, this is crazy. This is one of those things that I was really looking forward to as a dad. So for me, that was a moment of doing something that I really enjoy. Did you see how I focused in on that specific period of time? I didn't tell you what was going on, why wasn't Chelsea there, or there's anybody else there. I didn't talk about the weather. I talked about specifically what was going on in that moment, why I enjoyed that moment. That's what we want you guys to do. So your writing assignment is right here. Write about the time you were doing something that you really enjoyed. My expectation is 100 words. That may sound like a lot to you right now. By the end of this year, it's not. You guys are going to be writing 200 to 250 words in the same period of time by the end of this year. So just start writing. And if you need help with it, reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. That is your assignment. Yes, that is going to be graded. I'm looking forward to reading all your submissions and learning a little bit more about you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you all have a great day.